Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The Matrix is everywhere. Fact-checked studies that everybody believes, the news you watch, the way you've been taught to think, the educational system, the opinions of the people who love you. The Matrix exists to blind you from the truth.
From a self-described truth-teller and social media phenomena to a suspected human trafficker, it appears the Matrix has finally caught up with Andrew Tate.
Once you escape the Matrix and you try and find a way to get your wealth outside of the system, then you can exist geographically anywhere. And once you can do that, then laws don't really apply to you. If they made a law in the UK I was unhappy with, I'd just leave. And if they made a law in Romania where I live I'm unhappy with, I would just leave. I don't have to be a law breaker. I don't have to be a criminal. I'll just go somewhere else, right?
The influencer offers his followers a way out of the system, which he claims is deliberately holding them back. He sees his arrest, which he predicted, as part of a conspiracy to silence the truth about the way the world really works. Most people are slaves, forced by governments to limit what they say, do, and even think.
The reason I think we live in a matrix now is because I think the same thing is happening. Perhaps it's not our body heat, perhaps it's our work, our ideas, but they're being salvaged, and the reality they've given us to occupy our brains is false.
If this all sounds a bit far-fetched to you, remember that millions of young men and boys are listening closely to what he has to say. His content has been viewed more than 12 billion times across all forms of social media, and that's despite him now being barred from almost all of them, with the notable exception of Elon Musk's Twitter.
I like the color. You like the color?
Yeah, I had mixed reviews on the color. Some people said they like it, some people said they don't like it, and I said, well, what color's your Bugatti?
He's not the first person to say there are shadowy forces running the world, but he is in some ways the biggest. He was one of the most Googled people of last year.
First they shut you up so they can lie about you. So they shut me up, then they did the massive media push to try and attempt to lie about me. But despite that, the majority of comments regarding me are still positive. The majority of people believe and understand that this ban is unfair.
But what qualifies Andrew Tate, of all people, to tell the kids how the world really works? Why do they take him seriously? Well, for one thing, he's the embodiment of the rags to riches story.
We just have our meal early. KFC. I'm from the streets. Nothing's changed. I'm a poor guy with a lot of money. I'm not a rich man. I'm just a poor man who made a bunch of money.
Having escaped his humble background, he is now, for many, the complete package of how a man should be. He's tough, a former kickboxing world champion. He's rich, flying around in private jets and driving supercars.
So I was broke for a long time. I made my first million when I was, say, 27, and then I had 100 million by the time I was 31, 32. And then I became a trillionaire quite recently.
And he boasts of being incredibly successful with women. And one of his greatest assets, which shouldn't be underestimated, is his bombastic and persuasive way of speaking.
He says very wise things. He says ridiculous but also says really interesting things. He's a very smart guy.
He's very good at building business. He's proven it. He's made himself extremely rich doing it. A lot of what he says about masculinity and stuff, I completely would sign up to.
The fact he's tough, rich and confident is probably beyond dispute, but the way he got to where he is today, to some people, is rather distasteful and undermines his claim to be a role model. After retiring from kickboxing, he admits he had barely $85,000 to his name. To get where he is today, he sold drugs in the early days, internet porn, invested in casinos and sells so-called business courses at his Hustlers University, where thousands of subscribers pay him $50 a month, netting him millions every month.
Think about it. You've been told you're going to escape the Matrix. You're going to take the red pill. But what you end up doing in this course is sort of learning how to run an Amazon side hustle for Jeff Bezos. Like, no offense, you're not breaking the Matrix. You work for the richest guy in the world. Like, imagine Morpheus gives Neo the red pill and says, hey, have you ever day traded before?
His critics say he's exploited people in every line of business. But it's how he ran his sex chat business and how he allegedly treated women that landed him in jail.
At one point, I had 75 women working for me in 4 locations. And I was doing $600,000 a month from webcam. So
this is in the UK.
This is in the UK. This is in the UK. So, but this leads into the story of why I moved to Romania. So, at the height of my webcam pimping, I think I'm the king of the world, right?
His critics say there's exhaustive evidence of his misogyny online.
I'm all over the place. So I end up with all these chicks just stuck in their house, sitting there, bored, completely in love with me. And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out. No, you stay in the house. You don't go nowhere.
But his supporters say he's just playing a character, and this can't be taken too seriously. But the problem with Tate is that he's constantly contradicting himself. A prime example is when he explained why he moved to Romania in the first place. First, he says it's because he can buy off Romanian officials.
Oh no, not a court in Romania. Dude, they're corruption-free, as we all know. They put me in jail, I'm gonna walk in there with a pile of money like this.
Then he complains that anyone saying such a thing is racist.
To quickly address the rumors that I'm a sex trafficker and that's why I live in Romania. Firstly, that's a very, very racist attitude to have. I find it strange that the left and people who speak and talk about tolerance and inclusivity will assume that Romania as a country will allow me to be